You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the Resistance. It is Thursday, November 29th. We're live for the next 3 hours. I am, of course, still and will always be Dean Obeidallah, and I'm hoping desperately to be your MBFF. I'm on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah. A bunch of people emailed me yesterday. I'm not sure what I did, but I'm happy. Like, nice things. I will get back to all of you, if not tomorrow, over the weekend. I always do, and I love hearing from people. Dean at deanofradio.com. And yesterday we talked about why was Donald Trump freaking out so much on Twitter? 7 tweets in 2 days, yesterday and the day before, over Robert Mueller. And now we sort of know. In fact, I think Trump in the future, instead of Hail to the Chief, this should be his new sound he comes out to. That's much better, isn't it? I mean, it's perfect for Trump. Law and order, going to jail. I heard today Mike Pence spent the day whiting out the word vice on his business cards because he's pretty excited. This is going well for him. And if you've got a pool at the office, the day Donald Trump will be potentially charged with a crime or the reports coming out from Mueller, it's getting closer. We're not there yet. Obviously, the big news is Michael Cohen pleading guilty. We're going to go through all of that. But I've got to say, last night, Trump tweeted again attacking Mueller after the show. In this morning, he went after saying, did you ever see an investigation more in search of a crime? And they attacked Robert Mueller. He tries to attack Robert Mueller's credibility. Forget politics. Let's be honest for a second. If you're trying to choose who is more credible, who do you think is more honest and ethical? And your options are Robert Mueller, a man who served in the U.S. Marine Corps, who served as FBI director for a Republican and Democratic president, and who served as a U.S. attorney, or Trump, a draft-dodging serial liar who cheated on his wife and screwed small business out of money. Who would you choose? Only his base could choose him. I'm not kidding. No one else, no normal person who's not drinking the Trump orange Kool-Aid, to use Michael's term there, would side with him. And then Donald Trump tweeted again this morning before the breaking news. And again, it's early in the morning. I'm up early reading the news, and there's Trump tweeting at 7:45, saying that the Mueller investigation was like McCarthy, but saying it wasted more than $40 million. $40 million, and he put in parentheses, is that possible? No, it's actually not possible. That's not the right number at all. The right number, to quick fact check here before we get into Michael Cohen, estimates are the cost of the Mueller investigation is somewhere between $16 and potentially $20 million at this point. To give you some perspective, remember Ken Starr's investigation of Bill Clinton? Want to guess what that cost after 4 years? Over $70 million. So, come on. And there was no indictments with that one. This one, we got a bunch of people indicted, over 30 indictments, several in prison already, and more to go. So Donald Trump really is freaking out like last night. Like he got a visit from the ghost of Christmas. Not Christmas. It's like Trump got a visit from the ghost of prison future. I should put it that way. If we do a Mueller Christmas Carol, it's going to be the ghost of prison future. And then this morning, the news broke. And in fact, speaking of the holiday spirit, here was Stephen Colbert with a little holiday season song about Trump. It's a quick one because it's his first day back last night from Thanksgiving. Here's clip number 1, please.
I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving while we were off. Of course, now we kick off a very special season. We're all waiting for that magical man to check his naughty and nice list because Mueller Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're tweeting. He knows your hair is fake. He knows when you've been bad or bad because you're bad for goodness sake, you're bad.
He is bad, and there's no doubt about that, my friends. So let's get into it. First of all, I think it's important, besides just talking about, and I want to hear reactions to what we learned today about Michael Cohen, but what's really important is to remember the difference between Michael Cohen pleading today guilty as opposed to pleading guilty in August. It was completely different, even though both implicate Donald Trump. August, he was working with federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. He was not working with Robert Mueller's team. They had farmed that out. He admitted to 8 counts, including tax violations, banking and campaign finance laws. And very specifically, as a reminder, he testified under oath while pleading guilty that he violated campaign finance laws in coordination with and at the direction of a candidate for federal office who was Donald Trump. Again, that was not Robert Mueller. But today is different. Today's guilty plea and cooperation is specifically with Robert Mueller. And it fits the mandate of Robert Mueller's entire reason he was appointed special counsel. To remind everyone, because this is very important, in Rod Rosenstein's letter appointing Robert Mueller in May of 2017, Mueller was charged with finding any links / and/or coordination between the Russian government and individuals that were associated with the campaign of Donald Trump, and number 2, any matters that arose or might arise directly from that investigation, meaning any other crime he finds while searching for conspiracy between Russia and the Trump campaign, it's fine. So that's why today is really important. Today is Michael Cohen working with Robert Mueller because we found, and he pled guilty today to lying to Congress, 18 U.S.C. Code Section 1001. He knowingly and willfully made material false statements to Congress. He pled guilty to that. In exchange, there will be leniency if he fulfills his obligations at the time of sentencing. So what did we find out today? What did Michael Cohen plead guilty to? In a nutshell, Cohen admitted in court that he had engaged in negotiations to build Trump Tower in Moscow well into the 2016 presidential campaign, far later than previously known. Specifically, he admitted to falsely claiming that efforts to build this Trump Tower, he had said in the past, under oath, it ended in January 2016. In reality, it continued robustly until June of 2016. And as a reminder, by March 2016, Donald Trump was already seen as the frontrunner and the very, very likely nominee for the GOP. And by May 4th, Donald Trump was the presumptive nominee for president on the Republican side, meaning he had all the delegates he needed. He was just waiting for the convention in July. So they're talking to the Russians, and the Russians are contemplating that Donald Trump will be the nominee and potentially the next president of the United States. In quotes here, here's exact words of Michael Cohen told the judge, "I was aware of individual number ones," and that's Donald Trump's, repeated disavowals of commercial and political ties between himself and Russia. His repeated statements that the investigation of such ties were politically motivated and without evidence, that any contact with the Russian nationals by Trump or the Trump organization had all terminated before the Iowa caucus of February 2016. So that was the party line. Donald Trump was saying and telling everyone in his campaign and the press, I had no contacts with Russia and certainly nothing after January 2016. So there goes Michael Cohen, 2017, tells this lie under oath. Why did he lie about this under oath? Well, he's very honest. He said, I made these misstatements to be consistent with Donald Trump's political messaging and out of loyalty to Donald Trump. So Michael Cohen saying he lied under oath out of loyalty and to be consistent with Donald Trump's lies. Now, is that a crime for Donald Trump? Not yet. If Donald Trump asked Michael Cohen to lie under oath before he went to Congress, yes, then he's a co-conspirator. And don't forget, Michael Cohen's testimony in August that he violated campaign finance laws at the direction of and at the coordination of Donald Trump makes Donald Trump an unindicted co-conspirator in that crime. The only reason Donald Trump is not an indicted co-conspirator is that he's president and Robert Mueller's gathering information. Cohen went on to talk more about things. Very clearly, Michael Cohen said that he briefed Mr. Trump and Trump's family members on more than 3 occasions about this. So this is not just Trump anymore, my friends. This is Trump and his family members. Was Michael Cohen in touch with anyone in the Russian government, you might ask? That's a great question. Well, as the pleadings note, yes, he was. Cohen now admitted he spoke to Kremlin officials during the campaign to try to land Russian government support for the project. So those questions about was anyone from the campaign speaking to Russia directly and to Russian government officials, the answer now under oath in federal court is absolutely yes. And I think we all knew that, but now it's under oath. According to the court papers, Michael Cohen, and I'll slightly paraphrase here, but it says, spoke to Dmitry Peskov, who was the press secretary for the president of Russia, as in Vladimir Putin. Spoke to Putin's press secretary. And about this, they had inquiries about Trump Tower Moscow with the press secretary of Vladimir Putin. And there was also messages sent to Michael Cohen through Felix Sater, who was a Russian-born guy, was like a business guy, that to Michael Cohen saying, come to Davos, June 16th and 19th in St. Petersburg, and we can introduce you to either the president of Russia, Putin, or the prime minister. If they are there, Michael Cohen admitted to having conversations with the press secretary's assistant. Michael Cohen also admitted to lying because he had told Congress he was never going to Russia. Well, guess what? He now admits he had made plans to go to Russia. In fact, he had even talked to Donald Trump about potentially going there and asked a senior campaign official about potential business travel to Russia. And something else very interesting in the pleadings. This is really interesting here to me. It wasn't only Donald Trump's team lying. It wasn't only Donald Trump and Michael Cohen lying to the American public and to the media about these ongoing business negotiations. What we learned from the pleadings today is the Russian press secretary on the other side was also covering for Donald Trump. According to the pleadings today, it says that Peskov, the press secretary, said in August 2017, I repeat again, we do not react to business topics. This is not our work. We left it unanswered, talking about the inquiries from Michael Cohen. Well, in the pleadings today and in Michael Cohen's own statements, Peskov did speak to Michael Cohen and did have communications. So you have Cohen's side, you have Trump, and you have the press secretary for Vladimir Putin all lying to cover up the conversations about business dealings in Russia during the heart of the campaign. And so let's sum up here. Let's sum up all this. I wanted to give you these facts. Everyone knows it. I hope it's not confusing on the radio. If you could see it again, if I had a flow chart in front of you, it would all be clear. Here's what we can sum up. This part is my theory, but I think this is where we might be going. And I can't be sure. I'm just telling you my gut. What we see for sure is Michael Cohen, one of the highest ranking guys in the Trump circle at the time, very close, his personal fixer, the highest circles of Donald Trump, speaking to the highest circles of government in Russia, people tied to Putin. In fact, a meeting with Putin was actually promised as possible. And there's no doubt Michael Cohen spoke to the press secretary for Vladimir Putin. That's not a crime. That's clearly not a crime. You can talk to leaders of other countries. That's fine as a candidate. The question that comes in here is, in these conversations, was this indicating to Putin that Donald Trump is willing and if elected will play ball with you, Vladimir Putin, in the way you love most, which is making money. So let's talk business. Help me get elected. And we're going to build a Trump Tower in Russia. We might have other investments there. You can invest back in America. We will make things easier. The implicit idea of we will lift the sanctions that Vladimir Putin hates. And I think that's what this is about. This is an indication by Cohen from January through June of 2016, speaking to the highest levels of the Russian government, that Donald Trump wants to build a building in Moscow. And think about this. A random business guy wants to build a building in Moscow and the president's office is involved in it? Why would they? Only if it helps the Russian president in some way, which is, again, getting rid of sanctions, doing business together. And here's a little timeline, what we know. January through June 2016, under oath, Michael Cohen said he is in conversations with the Russians at the highest level to build a building in Moscow. Trump knows about it, doesn't deny it. Through June. June 9th, we have the Trump Tower meeting where the Russians had reached out before that saying the Crown Prosecutor of Russia's got this dirt from the highest levels of the Russian government to help your father, to Don Jr. They have a meeting June 9th, 2016. June 12th, 2016, WikiLeaks' Julian Assange tells the press, we have more emails from Hillary Clinton. Just 3 days later, those emails were given to them, as we know now, from the Russian military GRU unit who was doing all this hacking. June 14th, according to the plea deal today, that was the last conversation between Michael Cohen and the Russians. What a weird thing 2 days later. What else happened on June 14th? Washington Post breaks the story. Russian hackers were involved in hacking the DNC. These are not coincidences, my friend. They just can't be. It's impossible to believe they are. You must suspend common sense to not believe this is all intertwined. And then a month later, July 27th, Donald Trump says, Russia, are you listening? And that very night, according to the indictment of Robert Mueller, that very night, Russian actors sent phishing email accounts to a domain name used by Hillary Clinton's personal emails for the very first time. Are these all coincidences? When you know more and more information that Donald Trump, not only, when Donald Trump said July 27, 2016, in a vacuum, Russia, if you're listening, help me out. A lot of us were like, are you out of your mind? I remember vividly when that happened. I'm like, what kind of jackass does that? Calls on Russia to attack a Democratic candidate for president. In a vacuum, we just thought it was asinine. You fill in more gaps. We find out after that, a year later, we find out there was a June 9th Trump Tower meeting. And you're like, wow, was that statement to Russia a month later because of what happened at that June 9th meeting? And today we find out from January to June of 2016, Trump, through Michael Cohen, is talking to the highest levels of the Russian government, saying, let's do business together. And I think to them, business is far more than making a little money. Business is, you help me get elected, and I will play ball with you. That's where this is going. If my theory is right. Today, Donald Trump attacked Michael Cohen. He's convicted. He's a liar. You know, it's laughable when Donald Trump's calling someone a liar. But interestingly, Donald Trump also admitted at the very moment, it was a well-known project. I was talking to the Russians. Everyone knew about it. In fact, Donald Trump continued denied having any negotiations with the Russians. That's a lie there. Giuliani, afterwards, Trump's lead lawyer, we think him as a punchline, he's actually the lead lawyer for Donald Trump, said, hey, yes, there was a proposal. It was discussed and a non-binding letter of intent, but it didn't go beyond that. I didn't even know about the non-binding letter of intent that Giuliani's talking about. That wasn't even in the plea deal today. So this is where we are, my friends. You have I was saying it yesterday, like a jigsaw puzzle. And we keep getting more and more pieces of this puzzle. It starts out July 27, 2016, which might turn out to be a really important day. Donald Trump says, Russia, are you listening? If you are, help me out. On its own, that is not a crime. It is asinine. It is beyond the pale of what's acceptable of an American candidate for president, calling on a foreign government to attack a Democrat running against them. Horrible. If a Democrat did that, I would say it's horrible. Then we learn a year later, they had a meeting in Trump Tower, June 9th, to get dirt, that the Russians had dirt to offer on Hillary. All of a sudden, that meeting says something more. And then today we learn from January to June 2016, for 6 months, there were negotiations going on between Michael Cohen, as Giuliani has told us later today, a non-binding letter of intent was actually entered into to do business in Russia. And this is reaching the highest levels of the Russian government, dealing with Trump. And to me, it's not about a building. It's not about emails. It's Donald Trump saying to Vladimir Putin, you help me, and I help you as president. You help me win this election, and I help you do everything you want to do. Lift sanctions, have good relations. It's good for both countries. That's what Trump always said. So in his own mind, he can justify his treasonous, traitorous behavior. That's what we're getting at here. We're getting at, you've got the coordination now. You've got contacts with the highest level of the Russian government and the Trump campaign. That's the idea. There was no contact, no collusion, whatever. That's gone. You have it. The question is it a crime yet? And we don't know yet. We're still missing some pieces. I'm giving you my theory. What I just said was a theory. Be clear. I tell you, as a lawyer, I will never oversell anything and not ever be too partisan on legal issues. My theory. My theory is, now we've learned all of this. The Russians clearly thought Donald Trump was going to play ball. They wanted to help him. They weaponized the emails. They release it in timely fashion to help Donald Trump win the election. They spend millions of dollars on a Facebook campaign, on a Twitter campaign, an Instagram campaign to do one thing, to put Donald J. Trump in the White House to help Vladimir Putin and his agenda. That's what this is about, in my view. What's your view? I want to hear from you. There's a lot more, too. I can speak all day about this topic because there's so much more to unpack. Now, other things that in the past now make sense. Donald Trump having business deals with the Russians for years. His own sons admitted, Don Jr. and Eric admitted to it. There's so much going on tying Trump and Russia and money. And I got to play a clip. Here is Jeffrey Kramer, a former prosecutor today on Fox News, talking about who should be nervous tonight when they go to sleep, thinking about what's going on. Here's clip number 3.
Are there others within the Trump family even who might have reason for concern regarding this matter at hand?
I think if an objective observer was to look at this, you'd have to say yes. We know from Mr. Cohen's allocution and what he said today that there were others in the Trump organization that knew about the time period of when these conversations were going on and were aware that a trip to Russia was discussed with then candidate Donald Trump. So if you're one of those people in Trump organization who has talked to either Mr. Mueller or congressional hearing, and you towed the line, in other words, you said the same lies that Mr. Cohen did, I think you're having a nervous night tonight.
Are you referring to Donald Trump Jr. or others?
I think Donald Trump Jr. is certainly one. That's a logical inference given what we know to date.
Donald Trump Jr. as well. This is the ghost of prison future is making a visit to the Trump household, and they have to be concerned. And now we all know why Donald Trump has been freaking out the last 2 days. Because his buddy Matthew Whitaker is now the fake attorney general overseeing, at least on some level, because now it's unclear. There's a reporting today that Rod Rosenstein is still overseeing the Mueller investigation. I'm not until I see that in writing by reputable sources. But MSNBC, Nicole Wallace, was reporting that there are indications that Rod Rosenstein is still supervising. But Matthew Whitaker, the fake AG that Trump put in there over for Jeff Sessions, I'm sure has told him all of this that was going on. And that's why Donald Trump has been freaking out. He knew for 2 days this was about to go down. So this is where we are, my friends. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'd love to hear from you. What do you make of it? You know, you don't need a legal background. I just want to hear your gut feeling. What do you think is going on here? And if you have a legal background, you're welcome to call as well. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. But I'd love to hear, where are we going? What do you think is going on? Does this change anything, what you heard today? Does this explain why yesterday we were talking about Trump freaking out for 2 days? 866-997-4748, 866-997-4748. You're my guest right to the top of the hour. Love to hear from you right here on the Dino Badala Show. Progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dino Badala Show on Sirius XM.